There was recently a protest in the Tennessee House, which some state lawmakers were involved in. It was a peaceful sit-in. They literally sat on the ground and sang, "We shall overcome." For that horrific offense, because the thing they were protesting was the lack of action by the legislature to do anything about gun violence after yet another group of school children were massacred. For that grave offense, those lawmakers were arrested. And now, the cowards at the Tennessee State House, well, in Tennessee's Congress, they're expelling them, getting rid of these lawmakers. Because in Tennessee, Republicans have a supermajority. Tennessee, you should be ashamed of yourself. You should be ashamed for allowing this to happen. Even if you're a lefty in Tennessee, carry a little bit of guilt on your shoulder for losing this fight, because your loss is going to get children killed. It sucks to hear. I know. And if you fought against this, pat yourself on the back as well. And in 2024, your old pal Jake's going to be helping you. There's the upside. But you should still take a moment and allow yourself to feel shame for your state conducting itself in this way. Look at CNN's coverage.
In the Tennessee State House, they have just voted to expel State Representative Justin Jones. This is because of a disorderly protest that he and two other Democratic colleagues held last week in the wake of the shootings in Memphis, Tennessee. 6 people died. There were a lot of people who were very angry about those 6 murders. They converged on the Capitol. 3 of those state representatives, 3 Democrats, Justin Jones, Justin Pearson, and Gloria Johnson, were disruptive on the floor of the State House. One of the 3 has now been expelled from the State House, and the votes on the other 2 will happen imminently. Let's go to Ryan Young. Ryan, they did it. I have to say, it seems like a rather harsh punishment for being unruly on the floor of the State House. But when you have a supermajority, your party can do whatever it wants.
Absolutely, Jake. I'm not surprised by this. Based
Hold on. I do want to be absolutely clear about what they're talking about. Unruly on the floor of the State House. That's referring to a protest over the legislature's lack of action around gun violence, specifically doing nothing while school children are massacred. This is the world we live in right now. This is the America we have, and we have allowed to exist. The whole country should feel ashamed. It's hard for me to come up here, get on camera, and say into a microphone, I am an American, because I bear some responsibility for this as well. We all do if we are from the United States. If you're not from the United States, I'm sorry, but this is us. We are this low. If you ever admired the United States, I'm sorry. Clearly, we aren't what you thought we were. We're working on it. Now let's handle this. If you are from Tennessee, make it clear to God and everyone else what is going on and why. Tell your friends, tell your family. Have arguments over this. Break friendships over this. I don't give a damn. Don't allow this to stand. If you're from anywhere else in the world, Anywhere, let's start with this United States, which needs the quickest work before we do anything else. If you are from anywhere else in the United States, point to this. Don't let this go by without everyone who votes for Republicans knowing exactly what's happening. School shootings are a problem in America. We can't stop our children from being massacred in their classrooms. If you're a Democrat, then as a sacrifice to being polite to Republicans, I mean, if you're a traditional old school Democrat, as a sacrifice necessary to be polite to Republicans, we allow school children to die. So you do bear that responsibility. If you are a Republican, you are supporting the side that promotes the death of school children and actively fights and even corrupts our system of democracy in order to ensure that school children will keep being murdered. That's what you support. I recommend you just bow out from ever voting ever again. If you're a Republican who voted as late as 2020 for Republicans, just don't vote. You can't be trusted. There should be no law that prevents you from voting. Just your own shame and your knowledge that you don't know enough about the world to vote responsibly. And you should politely bow out from the democratic process because your opinion isn't worth being part of the conversation. And you should acknowledge that. Do the one responsible thing in your goddamn life and not participate. Let your betters decide what should happen, in other words. Because your betters are people that give a damn about children. The rest of us, what we can do is shine a light on this and show it to everyone who is physically able to see and listen. I don't care if they feel like having the conversation. Let's keep it going. Let's see what these baby murderers did.
Upon what Democrats have been telling us all day long, they believe this vote would happen. In fact, we've learned there are plans for all three members to walk outside and do a news conference after they're expelled. We do believe Justin Jones will also be escorted from inside the chambers after this procedure happens. There's hope that he's allowed to go to his office to clear it out himself. But there's also a belief that he may be walked directly out and not even get a chance to pack up his own items. This is shocking to so many people because obviously the focus now, especially a lot of the media focus, is on this going on and not the 6 lives that were lost just last week, and even the heroic officers who went in to neutralize the threat. So now you can hear those protesters screaming in the background.
Yeah, I'm real sick of the media trying to get credit for being, I don't know, super just by taking shots at the media. I'm sick of that. Yeah, there's fair critiques to be made of the media. This guy pausing this conversation to talk about how the media is covering this and they weren't covering the deaths of school children earlier. First of all, yes, they were. Second of all, it misses the point. How often do we see this story? Did we need it to be worse than Uvalde, where cops just waited outside while children bled out? Did we need it to be worse than that to learn our lesson? What was new about this? Not a damn thing. Except here we see the cause of the problem, and CNN is taking time to whine about it. So I'll whine about CNN. Why not? Because I'd like you to understand how effed up that is. I'd like you to know who's telling you the news here. This is the problem, what we're seeing right now. Republicans are playing games. The Tennessee legislature right now is playing games instead of addressing the problem. In fact, It's even worse than that. They're degrading democracy because of one member's completely fair, totally understandable, in fact, commendable use of free speech. Because of that, for sitting on the ground and singing a song in a classic protest that is badly needed, that every one of our leaders should do. Everyone should do. In fact, write your leader. Let's start this. I have a what you can do. I'm changing it. Write your leader and say you want them to protest in the exact same way these three did. Let's have this in every state house around the country. Every single one. Problem is the Republicans doing everything in their power to ensure that children keep dying. That's the problem. This report and others like it is focusing on the cause of the problem. And any smarmy prick that tries to say, oh, you want to show this, but not the story about the school children dying, has no understanding of what is going on. And you shouldn't ignore them necessarily, but you should be aware that they have no understanding of what is going on, of what any of the context of this is. And they're just wasting their breath. So I guess use their camera feed and ignore their dumbasses.
Thought this would happen. We're also told more people might be swelling into the area because they want to participate in the rally that's going to be held here after all these proceedings are done. But Jake, this is quite a shock when you think about the fact that no one has ever been expelled for a procedural matter. This comes down to decorum, and the decorum wasn't followed, giving the Republicans a chance to pull this off. And like you've noted earlier, these members will have a chance to run for their seat again. So we might be back in the same situation with these same members back here in a few months after they probably will get expelled today.
So there was a motion to adjourn, but that has been defeated, and they are now the Tennessee State House after expelling Representative Justin Jones, who you saw there in the white suit, who was holding up a fist a second ago. They are now proceeding to House Resolution 64 to expel State Representative Gloria Johnson. There you see a State Representative, ex-State Representative Jones speaking to reporters there. And Ryan Young, it is shocking, as you note, the idea that what has motivated a state legislative body in Tennessee a week after this horrible attack on a Christian school where a disturbed person entered with guns, killed 3 9-year-olds, killed 3 faculty and staff members before police officers, law enforcement from the Memphis area bravely charged in and killed the shooter. That what has actually prompted action is the fact that 3 State House Democrats were unruly on the floor of the State House. And look, obviously they violated the rules. Obviously they were disruptive and unruly. And I'm not saying that they shouldn't be punished, but it is just stark. You see, I believe that is Gloria Johnson there on the left, State Representative Gloria Johnson, a Democrat. The action that they're taking right now is to disenfranchise hundreds of thousands of Tennesseans who will now not have state representation in the State House. That's a former State Representative Jones embracing with soon-to-be former State Representative Gloria Johnson on the floor of the Tennessee State House in Nashville. What is motivating the legislators is this act of civil disobedience, this act of violating legislative decorum, and not the murders of these 3 individuals, 3 students, 9-year-olds at a Christian school in Memphis, or the 3 faculty members, 6 individuals murdered. That is not prompting the state legislature to act. It is these state representatives, these 3 Democrats being rude.
Finally well put by Anderson Cooper. Yeah, it was a little bit of rudeness. The freaking cowards. Just to recap, children are dying. These people actually tried to do something about it. And Tennessee, the rest of your representatives are so committed to letting children be murdered that they got embarrassed and chose to expel these people. That's pathetic. That's a pathetic state you got there. It's a real low place for your state to be, and you should be utterly ashamed. It is partially your fault, as it is partially my fault. This doesn't happen in a vacuum. Tennessee is not separate from the rest of the country's narrative. My fault, too. And I'm so damn sorry. It's all of us if you live in the U.S. And again, if you live outside the U.S. and you're watching this program, we're working on it. I'm sorry. So what are we going to do? You want to get yourself together, for God's sake. What do? We do not let this exist in isolation. If it is partially our fault. If you live in Tennessee and this is partially your fault, if you live in the United States and this is partially your fault, take responsibility. Number one, write that man and his colleagues. The VOD will have a link to all of their contact pages. Write them with a message of support. They need it right now. They do. Number two, write your representative. Let's insist that our representatives do some damn work and do some ugly work. They're getting nice paychecks, by the way. For these jobs, they're real nice paychecks. So write yours at the state level as well as the national level. I'll give you a link to all of your representatives. Write them all. You're going to have to write one message, copy it, and then paste it about 4 or 5 times. Write them and tell them that you want them to protest in the exact same way that these lawmakers did. I'm going to do a follow-up video. I do the live stream version. I'm starting to think that it might be better to do somewhat more detailed follow-up videos. And this is important enough that it's making me sort of solidify that line of thought. Let it keep going. I want to watch every inch of this. We should. There is something healthy about allowing yourself to fully feel the shame in a shameful moment. Allowing yourself to face it and stare at the ugliness, and then resolving to do something about it. So let's continue, because we've earned this. Here is a good man being kicked out of his job for trying to do a good thing.
I mean, that is unusual. I would think that, and I'm not talking about gun control, but I would think there would be some action taken to try to figure out how to protect the students and faculty.
Yeah, first things first, Jake, when you think about it, Jones is sharp-tongued, so there's a lot of people that he's tussled with within the State House who I think are sort of happy the fact that they get a chance to take away his seat. We saw today how he was able to defend himself so very well as he was talking back and forth with lawmakers. But a lot of people believe before we even got here today that this was a done deal, that he was going to be gone at the least. And so many people have been trying to change things. But here's the thing. We've been talking to teachers all day long who spent their entire time to come down here, imploring lawmakers, hopefully, to change their mind on this one and maybe focus more on gun legislation. I talked to a Republican woman off camera who said she didn't want to go on camera, but
Wait a minute. Just to be clear what he said, the people who are getting shot to death at random every day around the country, the people that are getting their brains blown out en masse, they came and they politely asked their legislature. Actually, I don't know if they politely did, and I don't care if it was polite. They came and they requested that their legislature not kick out one of the few who's advocating that they get to live. That's what they did. And Tennessee, your representatives chose to ignore them. That's who you have representing you. Is that an accurate representation of your beliefs? To ignore your fellow Americans that are getting murdered, who've come and asked that your representatives stop that from happening? Is that an accurate representation of your beliefs? If not, 2024 is coming up quick. And maybe keep that in mind.
She said the whole idea here, look, we live in the South. I don't expect them to take away our guns, but she wanted to see something change to make school kids safe. And so we heard that over and over from people saying maybe the Republican, Democratic talking points needed to go away just a little bit in order to make some sort of space here to help children out. We had teachers crying on air with us today, begging for change because they don't know what to tell their students, because they say their own students expect for something to happen.
For the record, he said Republican and Democratic talking points need to go away. No, just Republican talking points. Credit where it's due at all times. That doesn't just mean your old pal Jake lets something go, or your old pal Jake says, credit where it's due, I'm going to say something nice about this Republican. It also means, with bullshit like that, we clarify. Republican talking points need to go away in this conversation. Republicans are 100% guilty in allowing these children to die, allowing teachers to die. That's a Republican problem. What the Democrats are guilty of is only not fighting them hard enough. So no, not talking points from both sides need to go away. No. Democrat talking points need to get harsher, louder, and more frequent. In fact, I would say constant. Republican talking points need to go away. This is fair. Just because one side is insane and is acting like it does not mean the other side needs to take equal concessions. They're already acting sane. So don't both sides this with that nonsense.
Happen in school now. It's that sad fear that we should be dealing with front and center, according to the protesters who came here. And then you have this action taking place, a change in state history, really, when you think about how this is going to move forward. And of course, with that Republican supermajority, they make the rules. And so these three lawmakers pretty much challenge that rule governing body, and decorum is going to win out in this one in terms of them being able to make this change. Now, you hear people on the floor right now saying this is a change for America and democracy, and that's something that we're going to think about moving forward.
Holly, what is your reaction to what we're seeing here on the side, on one side of the screen? On the left, you see State Representative Justin Jones in his white suit holding up his fist. He was there for a second outside the chamber. He has been ejected. He has been expelled from the state legislature for the unruly behavior from last week. And we see on the right side of the screen State Representative Gloria Johnson, who is about to be expelled. Holly, are you surprised that this is what the state legislature is choosing to act on, even though 6 innocent people were murdered in a Tennessee school, in a Christian school, and that would seem to me, just as a citizen, to be more offensive than the rude behavior we saw?
No, I'm a native Tennessean, and I'm sadly not. This is not a surprise to me. It's very upsetting to me as a Tennessean. what this is about is the fact that the Republican supermajority has never liked Gloria Johnson. They don't like Justin Jones, and they don't like Justin Pearson.
I just want to highlight that lady has the right idea. She said, "This is upsetting to me as a Tennessean." Good. Good. It should be. Even on a network like CNN, occasionally you get somebody with some freaking principles, which we desperately need a return to. I don't think we ever actually had them in the U.S. We need to invent some and then follow them. Yeah, you should feel personal shame. And in this case, honest to God, we all should. Remember, and we're going to talk about this in detail in 2 minutes and 23 seconds. Remember, one of the reasons Republicans act like this is to make a dark parallel to other things that have happened in politics so that the people that normally vote for them can say it's all just performance. So remember, Marjorie Taylor Greene was kicked off committees, for example, for acting like a GD traitor. We need to make this not look the same on the surface. And the way to do that is to make sure we don't react the same way that Republicans reacted. MAGA made it into a big deal. Traditional Republicans did nothing. That means progressives need to make this into a big deal, and we need to make sure our cowardly centrists get poked, prodded, shoved, screamed at, harassed, hollered at, generally made uncomfortable until they get on board. And yes, let me underline that rather than walk it back. Harassed every moment of their lives. Not illegally. No threats. But made uncomfortable. Called a coward. Called lazy. Called useless. Until they join in solidarity with that guy and his two pals. We need to make this into a big event. We're going to come back to this again and again and again. We need to make this into a big event. This is what 2024 is going to be all about. We need to make the difference clear. On school shootings, Republicans are on the side of the killers, and Democrats are on the side of the children.
And this has given them an opportunity to take some action and to take revenge on them for speaking up.
Let's listen.
Tennessee's got some of the laxest gun laws.
Yeah, let's just listen into State Representative Jones, or former State Representative Jones. Let's listen to him.
I think I love it.
Let's support the others who are still in there.
That is a leader, ladies and gentlemen. Tennessee, I hope you'll have him back in 24.
And this does not seem like America. To expel voices of opposition and dissent is a signal of authoritarianism, and it is very dangerous. And I hope that as a nation watches, that we put this light on Tennessee to say that this should sound the alarm across the nation that we're entering into very dangerous territory.
You have two of your colleagues in there who are still going to face questions today. What would you say to them your other two members of the Tennessee Three?
I mean, we're in this together. The three of us, the Tennessee Three, we stand together. So I'm going to the balcony to go support them. I can't be on the House floor right now, so I'm going to go to the gallery and stay for the hearing because we are in this together. And it's so important that we represent. We're multiracial, intergenerational. We represent Memphis, Nashville, Knoxville. We stand united, and the people across the nation are paying attention to what's happening because this is not the end. But what they did was signal that if we don't act, we will lose our democracy. Today was a signal that we have lost democracy in Tennessee and that we are on the path toward authoritarianism, to be quite honest.
Will you run again?
I have no idea, what are my next steps in terms of responding to this extreme measure, but I will continue to show up with the people and continue to demand action on common sense gun laws, because what we were saying was let us pass an assault weapons ban, let's take action, and they responded by assaulting democracy. So thank you all so much.
Thank you, Representative Jones.
I don't have any next steps, but I will continue to show up in this Capitol with these young people, whether I'm in that chamber or outside. And so we don't know what's next. I'm going to consult my legal team because I believe that what they did was unconstitutional. I believe that it violated, many of our rights. And so it silenced, more importantly than just me, my district. 78,000 people have lost their vote and their voice because of the extreme actions of this body. And so I'll continue to show up, and we must continue to hold them accountable.
Shameful. Absolutely shameful. I know one of our folks is a Tennessean, and I am just so sorry. I think that's is that wireless mic? It is wireless mic. I'm sorry this happened, sir. Good news. Hopefully, the rest of the Wicked community is going to help you out by contacting their representatives. Mike, the one thing you can do, you've done. Put good people in your state's legislative bodies. Keep doing it. Tell your friends and family about this and about why it happened. Make sure other Tennessee voters know and own the fact that if they dare vote red in 2024, they're voting for children to die. That's what they're doing. Make sure they know that, because that is reality. The rest of us, link in the description. Refresh the page if you don't see it. Under the notes, the show notes for this story, contact your representatives. Want to know what to do? I'll tell you right now. Tell them you want them to protest this. To protest it. Tell them you want them to speak out against this. Tell them you want some GD hay made of this. We are going to show the world now, including ourselves, if this is who we are. And it becomes who we are as opposed to an unfortunate occurrence in bad times. It becomes just who we are if we accept it. Don't accept it. We're better than that. Contact your representatives. Link in the description. Let's read some comments. Granny P, how is this even legal? What about the citizens that elected them? Yeah, I think you should be able to expel a member of any body under the right conditions. I think if they're acting in bad faith, etc., etc., and obviously these are not those conditions. This is corruption. Corruption is essentially, I think it's the perfect word for this, but maybe I'm wrong. Leon Chevalier says, from the UK, this nonsense is like watching aliens landing. Yeah, man. Yeah, I'm so sorry. I'll say this. Here's something you can do if you're from outside of America and you want to help us out. And by the way, we appreciate the help quite a bit. I talk to other Americans, and they are frequently about this specifically, and they are always shocked by the reality when I tell them that on the world stage, Democrats are center-right. I have 5 sisters, so I'm not outing anybody here. One of my sisters, who is they follow the news. They're a pretty informed person. Their jaw dropped when I said that Democrats are center-right. Because in their mind, Democrats are the lefties, right? The hippies. So here's something you can do. Make sure when you pop into the comments on a probably American-leaning video, you bring this stuff up. Bring up the fact that Democrats are center-right. And in fact, the U.S. is a right-wing authoritarian-leaning country. Make them aware of that. Make us aware of the fact that you don't experience school massacres like this. That if somebody came into an English school with an assault rifle and shot up a room full of kids, that would be a national tragedy that was taken seriously, and that only America chooses to let this keep happening. Tell us what we are in the comments section around the internet. It will have a bigger effect than you may realize. Patrick Thibodeau, they expelled the other Justin too. They spared the They expelled the other Justin too. They spared the white woman. I know, shocking, he says. This becomes who we are if we allow it. Contact the Justins. Tell them you support them. Contact your representatives. Tell them you expect them out dealing with this. Rob Cherry, it's a little on the nose who did and did not get kicked out. Yeah. Laura, sorry, Jake, I'm not feeling guilty. My first election, I voted for Anderson. I've been swimming against the stream all my life. You guys are catching up. No offense. Just saying. Fair enough. Your hands are clean if you have voted against this your whole life. You still have a responsibility to advocate. Whatever we have done has not been enough. I voted against this. I don't live in that state, but I have voted every time I could for people against this mentality. I have marched in protests at the risk of my career. I took up a career to inform people. I've literally dedicated my life to this. And I'll tell you, you may feel that you can wash your hands of the guilt entirely. But I don't for myself. Because whatever I did was not enough. Definitionally, whatever all of us did was not enough. And children are still dead. So if you feel, okay, well, you voted correctly, fair enough. There's an argument to be made there. Keep voting the way you vote. Do what you got to do to keep your energy up. And bear in mind that whatever we're doing, collectively, more needs to be done. So do more if you can. Franny P, they are not embarrassed. Yeah. Leon Chevalier says it's not your fault. No, it is. It is our fault. I don't care if you feel like you're a good guy. We all live in a country where children are allowed to be killed. It is our fault, and we have to accept that. Like grown-ups who take responsibility for the safety of the children in their community. If we have a system where we feel polite conversation is exchanged, and we eventually arrive at the right decision. Well, it's taking us so long to arrive at the right decision that children are dying. It is, look at me, it is our fault. Exist in this moment for just a second. It is our fault. Hey, dorks, happy Thursday, says Mark L. Madison. Well, hey there, Mark. Sorry I read that in a low moment. Wicked Foxy Dragon, how can they take out someone the people voted in? Them's the rules. Mark L. Madison says, the precedent this sets, that's it. Allowable. It's going to have massive implications for any duly elected Democratic leader until they get bored and stop doing it so publicly. Yeah. Yep. That's it, exactly. Look, good news is we don't have to do all the hard work. Theoretically, you've elected people who you can send out to go do the hard work for you. That's why they get those nice paychecks. I'm not saying we have to whip ourselves. I'm just saying we got to write an email. That's all. To the people who we employ to do this shit. Laura, advocating. That's why I'm here. Wicked is the way. Oh, thank you so much, Laura. Yes. Yeah, advocating. Advocate to your representative. You don't even have to go out and protest. Tell your representative to go out and protest. You can stay home. All of us can stay home and enjoy a nice bowl of soup. We just have to say, hey, person who draws a $100,000 plus paycheck from my taxes, get your butt out there and deal with this. Oh, mercy me.